Hello and welcome to the Oddschecker podcast. This is the Eclipse, we can call it, the Coral-Eclipse preview podcast. We're going to be previewing 3 races from Sandown on Sunday and 1 from Haydock in the Lancashire Oaks. I'm your host, George Elek, and I'm joined by 2 expert guests who are going to take us through the cards. 4 races, hopefully 4 winners. Fingers crossed. We've got Oddschecker's very own tipster every day tipping up winners to the Oddschecker audience, Andy Holding. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm very well. Yes, looking forward to this weekend. We've got through the Derby in the Oaks, and we feel as though we've got all those bases covered there. But I think we're coming on to more of the trickier day of the 2 of the weekend. These races will probably take a little bit more sorting.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Anyone who hasn't listened already or watched it, we did a Derby and Oaks preview before this, which you can find on the Oddschecker podcast and on the YouTube page as well. So if you're listening to this before Saturday, make sure you get over onto that first. And also joined by Longshot Ted, Ed Quigley, racing broadcaster and journalist, and becoming a bit of a veteran on the Oddschecker podcast as well. Good to have you here, Ed.
Well, I'm going grey enough to be on here, to be fair. So yeah, it's great to be here. Yeah, absolutely. A Derby, an Oaks, and an Eclipse on the same weekend. It's been a bonkers year, but that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, and I don't think the good sport's going to stop coming thick and fast for a long while now. Fingers crossed. Anyway, before we get into the racing, let's just point you in the direction of the Oddschecker app. Download it now for the very best prices, the best bookie offers, free bets, tips direct to your phone before anywhere else. So before we get cracking, just download the Oddschecker app now. You definitely will not regret it if you're listening to this podcast because you like a bet on the racing. Let's start with the big one. I think start where we are all looking, and what a race this looks set to be. The Coral-Eclipse on Sunday, and as it stands, Enable, despite murmurs from the Gosden camp about needing this run, is the 11-10 favourite. Odds on in a few places as well, but 11-10 favourite. Gaiath, 9-4 second favourite. Japan is around about the 4-1 mark, 9-2 best price. Magic Wand 16-1, Regal Reality 25-1, Deirdre 25-1, Bangkok 66-1. We're recording this about 3 o'clock, nearly to 3-1, at about 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. So the market might look a little bit different this time tomorrow. But Andy, coming to you first, Enable 11-10. Is this one to take on or this one to get with?
These kind of races, I always prefer to usually watch them rather than betting, particularly now that Lord North's out and we've only got the 7 runners. I might have had half an interest or a good solid look at it if we would have had the perfect 8. But with that in mind, I'm probably going to give it a skip. Look, I think she's always going to be better over 1.5 miles. I think her career record suggests that. But she was really good when she won first time out here last year, of course, in the Eclipse, beating Magical. Workmanlike more than brilliant. I certainly think she's going to have to be on her A game to beat Gaiath, who on his day is probably one of the world's best horses. He's certainly rated in that bracket, isn't he? When he won at Dubai, I keep time figures out there in Dubai as well, and he literally smashed it out of the park, and another park for that matter. I wasn't sure whether he'd do it over the wide, expensive Newmarket. Thought he might need a few bends to sort of get breathers in. It can be a bit open and exposed. It's very difficult to keep rocking and rolling there at Newmarket. But he saw them off one by one, and they all waved the white flag. And let's face it, there's some decent fodder in behind him that day. Anthony Van Dyke, Defoe, and good solid mile and a half Group 1, Group 2 horses, and he absolutely battered them. If ever a track was sort of tailor-made for his run style, this is it. He'll go into the corner in front. He'll fill him up, Buick, and then he'll just keep winding up down the straight. So if Enable's not on her A game, as John might have just alluded to in the press, then Gaiath, I think, has got a massive chance of giving Godolphin another winner in this race, because this is a race very much that the boys in blue do like to win, and can't really sort of get enthusiastic over too many others. Like Japan, this obviously his trip, he was a bit of a failure last time out at Royal Ascot, as we well know. All the others good enough, the likes of Deirdre and Magic Wand. So yeah, if Gaiath gets that breather into himself, obviously Bangkok being in the race could be a little bit of a spoiler up front if he doesn't settle. But I think if Buick can get that breather in down that top bend, fill him up, he just gallops all the way to the line, and we know he stays really well. So if you gave me a bet at the prices at this moment in time, he would be the choice.
Guy at 9-4 with Bet365, Ladbrokes, Betfair, Paddy's, Unibet, Sport Nation, 10Bet, Genting Bet, and Sport Pisa. What do you reckon, Ed? What do you make of this market?
That's pretty much spot on. I mean, in the build up to this, Lord North would have been probably my selection. Actually, I was really taken by the man and what that horse did at Royal Ascot. Obviously, that's all pie in the sky now, and it does look a bit of a 2-horse race on paper, doesn't it? Really, I find it hard to get enthusiastic about anything really left of field in here to get in the mix. The likes of Regal Reality or Deirdre, etc., Bangkok, they're just not good enough, I don't think. Japan's the interesting one, who clearly does have high level form, but I'm just convinced this horse is 1 mile 4. We discussed this on the Royal Ascot preview, didn't we? I just think 1.5 miles is this horse's trip. Okay, this is a stiff 10 furlongs, but I just think that horse will come into its own again later in the season and going back up a distance. And it's just a question: is Enable first time out? No one's really going to know. John Gosden's throwing out the little hints at this stage that perhaps she'll strip a lot fitter for the outing, which is entirely plausible. And I think Gaiath coming back down to 10 furlongs makes this even more exciting, really, because the horse has such an engine, doesn't it? Really does set exciting fractions, and if there's any kind of fitness chinks in the armour of Enable, they probably will be exposed by an individual over 10 furlongs who has sets a searing gallop, if you like. So it's not a race I will be striking a wager in. I think it's one of those two wins it. And if Enable is Enable, she does win, but we all know the whole season revolves around a couple of minutes at France in October for Enable, doesn't it? So I don't think they'd be too disappointed if Enable went down all guns blazing here, because later in the season is where it really matters. But I tentatively go with the boys in blue for Godolphin here, but just a race I'm going to watch and enjoy.
I think there's two side stories. Two side stories.
No, you go on.
This guy's is. It's great that we've got Enable still in training. I mean, I think it's a real. We should be thankful that Prince Carl is letting the public see her again. Obviously, we won't be able to see her close hand, of course. I mean, see her on TV. And I think it's also a real shame, isn't it, for Sandown itself? I mean, can you imagine what this card and how many people would be there on a Sunday with this card? They'd be queuing around the block like they were to get a McDonald's, after post-lockdown. There'll be sort of that many people trying to get here. I think they'd probably have to pull the shutters down, wouldn't they? Or you'd have to buy a ticket in advance, because they'd probably sell it out 3 or 4 times over. So it's a real shame for Sandown. You've got to feel desperately sorry for them. They've got a race to savour, and unfortunately, there's only going to be a handful there to watch it live in the flesh.
Absolutely. I mean, as you mentioned there, it's going to be a great spectacle, if not a great betting heat. But fingers crossed that no matter what happens, Enable gets there in a couple of months' time, all intact. But looking forward to watching how it's going to unfold. Maybe a tentative selection for Gaiath at the prices. If you are looking for a bet, a couple of more decent races at Sandown on Sunday. And we're going to talk now about the Coral Charge, the sprint. Art Power is currently in the betting at 5-2, 9-4. As we mentioned, we are recording this on Thursday, so we're not positive as to who runs where. Lazuli is 3-1, all blue on Oddschecker, so been backed recently. Liberty Beach 9-2, Ad Astronaut 8-1, Dakota Gold and Tis Marvelous both 9-1. At Arley 10-1, 12-1 bar. Andy, it's a bit of a tough one to look at the moment before decks, but who would you be keeping an early eye on ahead of tomorrow?
Well, I certainly think Lazuli's got to be high up on your shortlist along with Art Power if they both turn up. But as we know, the draw at Sandown is absolutely crucial. Back in yesteryear almost, it seems now, you want to be drawn on that far side rail. But I think every punter worth his salt now knows that far rail has become a little bit of a swamp in the last 2 years for one reason or another. I don't know why. It's so hard for horses to make the running, and the advantage that they used to have, it just seems to be eroded in time. That said, Lazuli managed to buck that trend by making virtually all last time out over the course and distance. And it was that performance really that has very much highlighted him as being a 5 furlong sprinter to follow. His form is almost perfect symmetry with Art Power. I think they both beat the same horse, didn't they? Around about 3.5 lengths. Keep Busy, who's a very useful horse trained by the Quins. So just if you're looking at like, pounds and ounces and kind of like the horses they were up against, they are very much a similar type. The advantage, of course, is with Lazuli because he's done it here at Sandown, as Art Power hasn't, of course. Their time figures are both very good. Art Power's performance in winning a handicap was almost a group performance, and we've seen that race work out well already. I think there's been a winner out of it down the field. I think it might have been Electric Ladyland. I think it was well beaten that day. And another guy who I speak to regards speed figures as well, he very much wants to upgrade that Art Power performance. He said that that's a race worth following. So it's got to be worth taking into consideration. But providing Lazuli, doesn't get drawn out in the car park, and I'm presuming there'll be a decent sized field here. They'll all want to crack at this. There's 20 runners at the 5-day stage. You'll probably get at least double figure field. Providing he's not drawn right out in the wing and he can get some cover, and he's able to work his way into the race rather than try and blast from the front like he did last time. He's obviously got a really sharp turn of foot, and I think he might just hold sway. So I'll go with Lazuli.
Lazuli 3-1 with Hills 888 and Coral. Ed, who's catching your eye?
Well, again, I won't repeat everything Andy said, but yeah, in regards to not knowing the draw, who's in the car park, who's not, and who's actually going to line up. There was just one I underlined here purely based on last season's form. That was at Ali for now Simon and Ed Crisford partnership. Yes, this individual's got to prove that he has trained on as a 3-year-old to some extent, but it's very, very smart performer at Group 2 level last year. I remember the performance of the Flying Childers especially. So this is a horse of a lot of ability, and he's 3 from 3 under Frankie Dettori in this country. On all 3 times Frankie sat on board, has got the job done. The one time it all went wrong, of course, was over in Santa Anita when the horse fluffed the start, got track wide, and it all kind of went wrong there. But other than that, I say this horse had some very, very smart form. Official figures, this horse is rated at 109. It puts him level with Lazuli, only a pound behind Art Power. He's right there, put it that way. And it was a rather tame effort, shall we say, last time out on his comeback, then finishing down the field on the all-weather. But the market, it was a little bit weak on the off in the market that day, and I just think perhaps the run was needed, and we'll strip a lot fitter on the back of that. If he could return to the type of form he showed last year with Frankie Dettori on board, let's put it this way, he was running in better contests than this and winning them last year, but does arrive with risks attached. But the draw is the big question here, and your race can be won or lost before you've even started, can't it? So at Ali with a good draw will carry some money from myself.
At Ali 10-1 with William Hill at the moment. So Lazuli at 3s, at Ali at 10s. Just for anybody listening who, when they hear you saying a good draw here, you both mentioned maybe just got to wait and see, not drawing in the car park. Are we after a high draw, a low draw, middling draw?
I was going to say middle now after all the years of wanting to be one side, and then who I say you only look. Andy points out, just looking through the draw results on the sprint tracks of the last couple of years, it's almost just totally flip-flopped, doesn't it? I remember Ed Denlop saying, "Oh, if you just got drawn low, just give up, don't bother unloading the horse off the box," type thing. So it's flipped round, to be honest with you. So a middle draw, and then you can't lose.
Okay, so just if it's 1 or 18, careful. But if you're in the middle, you're fine. That's the advice here. Onto the Henry II now, the third race in this preview. Nyaf Road is the 9-4 favourite with Betfred, I should say. Cross Counter 4-1 with Betfair and Paddy Power. Dashing Willoughby 13-2. Moonlight Spirit 13-2. Spanish Mission and Withhold 8-1. 12-1 Bar. Andy. Henry II, again, before we know exactly who's running, but at the prices at the moment, does anybody stand out?
Yeah, this is a little bit unoriginal, a little bit boring, but I'm a massive fan of this Nyaf Road. I just think he's all heart. He basically typifies everything a Mark Johnson horse is about. He doesn't have to necessarily make the running, but he made the running last time out in the Gold Cup. And as I said to you before in a previous preview, any horse that made the running at Royal Ascot on the round track and still hung in there, I'm massively upgraded, particularly as the week gone on and it was getting softer and softer. I think West End Charmer was another one in one of the handicaps from the same stable who cut out the running all the way through and then still managed to finish third. And the performance of Nyaf Road was truly astonishing. Obviously, he got beat by the best stay we've ever seen in the shape of Stradivarius, who's just a freak. But I know he got beat 10 lengths. Like I say, he had to make a lot of the donkey work, row his own boat for the thick end of 2 mile 3 furlongs. It was only in the last furlong he succumbed to the Gosden horse, but he beat the rest fairly comfortably. He'll definitely uphold the Formby Cross counter, because that had the run of the race, if you like. Didn't have to get involved in the early skirmishes, and it's a race that Mark Johnson really does like to win. I think Double Trigger won it for him in the 90s a couple of times. DXB won it last year. It's that kind of horse that tends to win it, the grinder, the one who can go from the front, get a breather in and then kick. And we know this horse stays, he stays 2.5 standing on his head. And the form of his previous win as well at Newcastle has also worked out really well. And that time figure that day also points him in the direction that Naya Ferrodi is improving at a rapid rate of knots. I think a lot of the horses, or some of the horses that ran in that race, ran well in the Northumberland Plate back over the course and distance the other day. I think Rainbow Dreamer was one of them. I think he finished 4th behind Naya Ferrodi. He was a creditable 4th or 5th under a big weight the other day. So the numbers have definitely stacked up, and his performances subsequently in Ascot has certainly suggested that time figure he produced that day is very much believable. So yeah, I'm a big Naya Ferrodi fan here.
Naya Ferrodi at 9-4 best price, 7-4 elsewhere. So act fast to get that. It's with Betfred. Ed, would you agree with that, or any others maybe at bigger prices that you're looking at?
On balance, yeah, with Naya Ferrodi, obviously he was the horse actually tipped to beat Stradivarius in the Ascot Gold Cup. Yeah, he ran really well for a long way. He ran quite free as well on pretty rain softened ground, didn't he? Over that trip, I think coming back to 2 is actually probably perfect for him. Actually, he's unexposed over these staying trips as well. And what you got to remember, it's only recently has he got up to this type of distance. Whereas you've got a few horses in here who we kind of know what they are when it comes to this type of contest, especially Cross Counter, who is the number one biggest excuse horse going at the moment. Bless him, he just keeps finding a way to lose, even though officially he is the best horse in the field. But got to remember, Naya Ferrodi's got to give £3 to his rivals here, and potentially did have a hard enough race only a couple of weeks ago on soft ground. But having said all that, he's just the horse I like for this. I think he ticks more boxes than most. Ryan Moore's on board again here, and there's one at a bigger price, so I think will be ridden with sympathy. Kind of pick them off. It's a horse who finished second in this a couple of years ago. It's the old veteran Red Verdon, who kind of pops up now and again. Had a little confidence boost the last time out when well supported, and I could see that horse running into a place at around 12-14 to 1. And as I said, he's run well in this contest before, but I think Naya Ferrodi's rock solid here. And as long as he's not feeling the effects of 2 weeks ago from that run behind Stradivarius, I think he will take a lot of beating.
Naya Ferrodi, the selection from both, and a little word there for Red Verdon as well, 12-1 with Betfred. So Betfred, your place to bet in the Henry II Stakes at the moment. Best price on both the selections here. And before we leave you, it's going to be a pretty quick whistle-stop tour through Sunday. I think partly that is because, as ever, the uncertainty around the runners. But we're going to talk about the Lancashire Oaks over at Haydock now. And this has been a very funny market over the last couple of days. En Bahar is currently the 7-4 favourite. Fanny Logan 5-2. Manuel de Vega 7-2. Dame Malio 10-1. Cabaletta 10-1. Antonia de Vega 10-1. 12-1 bar. En Bahar was punted a couple of days ago. Fanny Logan was about the same price. They flip-flopped. Then this morning, the money came for Fanny Logan. Now Fanny Logan seems to be going back out again. I mean, it's a bit of a hokey-cokey, this one, Andy. What do we make of it?
Well, I think the key horse in amongst all that lot is Manuela de Vega, the one you already mentioned. So clocked a sensational time when it beat Fanny Logan over the same track. I think it was the first week after lockdown. Great ride by Rob Hornby. I think he very much came of age that day, and he's been riding well since. Obviously, I think connections of Fanny Logan, if they do go there, will be more than aware of to try and keep on the tabs of Rafe Beckett's filly this time, not let perhaps the 6 or 7 length buffer that they afforded Manuela de Vega last time out. But either way, I think if you're a believer in the numbers and a horse going back to the same course and distance and repeating the dose, then I think you'll certainly want to be with Manuela de Vega. At least you're on a guaranteed run at the time of recording. And of course, with the rain around as well, we've touched upon the conditions. I don't think it's going to affect Sandown too much. Those of you down at the southeast are going to be okay. But for us up here in the grim north, particularly around the sort of Merseyside area, if you look at that forecast around Cheshire, where I am, it's it's not looking overly bright. So I think we're going to get rain upon what we've already got, which is now currently soft. I think it's definitely going to be at least soft come Sunday, and that'll definitely play into Manuela de Vega's hands, who very much she devours a mud pie. So I'd have to go with her at the current prices.
Anything to add to that one, Ed?
Yeah, just for, again, trying to look a little bit outside the box in terms of double figure prices. Cabaletta is definitely of interest here for Roger Varian. Let's not forget, she beat Frankly Darling on a debut at Yarmouth, then finished second behind Franconia at Newbury last time out over 10. Staying on, doing her best work at the closing stages, having fluffed the start. I think the step up in trip will suit. And Andy touched upon the kind of heavens opening in the northwest of England. Well, it was officially heavy ground when she beat Frankly Darling on a debut. And that might be more for the case that Frankly Darling didn't handle it as opposed to she thrived on it. But nonetheless, it's not an alarm bell that if there is rain in the area, put it that way. And I just thought she would improve again with, it's always, as you know, George, an angle of mine. I do like the unexposed trip angle. And so the fact she kind of got going a bit too late over 10 at Newbury last time out in the listed contest, I think going up to 12 with a bit of rain around, obviously around 10, 11 to 1, something like that. I think so. She's got to come into the equation, and David Egan's already been jocked up on the Cheveley Park runner, and hopefully we'll see her. If she does, I think she could run a big race.
10 to 1, Cabaletta. Manuel de Vega 7 to 2 with William Hill and Genting Bet. That is the end of the Sunday preview. Quick chat about 3 of the big races at Sandown, 1 at Haydock. Thank you very much to Ed Quigley and to Andy Holding for sharing their thoughts. Fingers crossed we've helped you find a couple of winners. Make sure you download the Oddschecker app immediately to get the best prices, the best bookie offers, the best tips, and the best free bets as well. Please gamble responsibly. Fingers crossed you get a couple of winners and enjoy the racing.